Hello everyone and welcome to another tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to create folders inside Amazon AWS S3 buckets. So we are going to use PHP to do that. We are also going to use AWS SDK for PHP. As you can see here, this is an official Amazon AWS SDK. And first of all, we need to install this dependency on PHP to use that on PHP. They recommend several ways. We can use with Composer, we can install with package var. There are several ways, or even you can use it with a zip file. We are going to use Composer. This is a package manager for PHP, and you can use it by that, using that. So now, to install the dependency, you just need to do this, assuming that you already have the Composer installed. If you don't have it, it's easy to install. You can figure it out by yourself. It's quite compatible with Linux, Windows, or even Mac OS. So let's go ahead. I created a folder. I created a folder called AWS S3 grade folder PHP. So we can just copy this file, and to check if you have Composer installed, you can do this. If it finds it has some output that is looking like this, it means you have, otherwise you need to install it. After that, we can then install this dependency. Compose require AWS SDK PHP, and it will create a bunch of files and folders inside your project folder. That's okay. While it installs, we also will also need to set up the credentials. There are several ways you can set up your credentials. You can set them up by using environment variables. You can set them up using a shared credentials profile, files and profiles. There are some two default environment variables that AWS SDK for PHP will check. It will be the AWS access key ID and the AWS secret key. So you can see here how to export and how to create these environment variables, but for simplicity, and I do not recommend doing this in production environment, I will use them hard-coded in the code, okay? But you can use the other ways that AWS and Amazon recommends. Okay, so it is installed now. So if you go to do ls, you see that a JSON file was generated, and a folder called vendor was also generated. Let's create a file called script.php. And let's open this script.php. Okay, great. So now if we go to basic usage, you see that prerequisites is download and install the SDK, and you need to have the AWS access keys. So let's go ahead and create our keys. To do that, you go to, let me zoom in a bit. To do that, you go to your username, security credentials. After that, you go to users. If you don't have a user, you need to create a user using this add users button. And after you create the user, you need to have a permission to Amazon S3 full access, or in this case, just a write permission. After that, you go to this tab, security credentials. I already have one here, but I'll create another one for you to see how it's done. So you create access key, and now you have access key ID. So let's copy and paste this to our PHP file, and let's show the secret access key as well, and copy this to the script PHP file. When I close this, the secret access key will not be, we will not be able to see the secret access key again. Keep that in mind. So now we have our access keys created. We can check now, and they say after installing it, you need to require, if you use Composer, you need to require this autoload.php. If you use var, this var file, and if you use zip, just go to AWS autoloader.php. We are using Composer, so let's go ahead and first of all, let's create an empty PHP file. So PHP, and let's close it with PHP. Okay, PHP file is created. We can copy this inside our file, and now we can start working on it. So we can type our require statement here, path to vendor. So if you go here, the path to vendor is really vendor, so it's just something like this, right? So we require the variables, that the library that we needed, and now we will need to use the S3 client, so we need to import those. This is just part of their library, and now we need to create our AWS S3 client. So you can do this by creating a variable called S3 client, right? And then you can type new S3 client, like here, and this will receive, this will receive a map with key values. It will receive an array. Okay, and inside the array, actually it is an associative array, and inside this array you will pass parameters. You will need to pass the version of your API that you are building. So we can use their example and pass latest. So now you need to check your region that you are running your S3 buckets. So in our case, to check the region, you go to your resource S3 buckets, and you'll be able to find out in which region you are. Actually, you can see here in the URL, but there are other ways you can see in which region you are running them. But yeah, it's EU West 2. Actually, that is weird. Maybe that is wrong, because I know that I'm using US, not EU. So I don't know what this means. Just copy this one. This is the right one. So this is our region, and now we're gonna pass something else. Since we are not using environment variables, we will pass here our credentials, and it will be like this. Credentials. Don't forget, don't use this in production. I'm just going to show you how you can test if you can communicate with AWS or not. So this is again an associative array. Then you have your key, and now our key is this here, and then we have our secret, which will be our secret that we gathered from AWS console. Great. Now, since we have the client, we can just try to see how many buckets we have. Okay, so you can do this like create a variable buckets. Okay, and you can use this variable, your S3 client, dot, in this case, list buckets. Okay, and now let's print out the bucket names that we have. So it's a simple for each loop where you're going to see your buckets variable, and it will be buckets, and there is another variable there called buckets. Has buckets, we can call it bucket, you can call it whatever you want, bucket. And now you open and close brackets, and we can echo bucket name, and then you can do it like this variable object as another parameter there called name, which is the bucket name, and then let's just do /n and that's it. Okay, let's see if it works. So to run this, you don't need to have LAMP stack working. You don't need like MySQL. You don't need Apache. You don't need nothing of that. You just need PHP installed. So you can do this, check your version of PHP. And apart from that, it's only what you need. So after you have all of this configured, we can go ahead and execute the script and see if it's working. I had to change this key because I think I have copied it wrong, but I was getting for 403. But apart from that, everything was good. So let's see if we got the buckets that we have there, if we can get that list. Okay, we have another bucket, education ecosystem and education ecosystem bucket. Let's see if that's true. So let's go to our S3 and see if that's true. Yes, we have those two buckets. You can see that they are empty. Now we just need to create a folder inside those buckets, right? So that should be easy. So since we are iterating each of the bucket, let's change this to creating a new folder on, and now the bucket name, and now we need to create the folder. Okay, so again, we can use the S3 client to do it, and there is a function called put object, and this function receives an array. So we can also pass the array like this, and it will receive two parameters, the bucket. So the bucket name, in this case, the idea is to create a different folder for each bucket that we are listing. So let's create here, so this is a bucket, and then you want to pass your bucket name, since we are iterating over buckets, and then we can pass a key, which will be our actual folder name. Okay, the key will be the folder name. So if we pass our key, We can name it whatever we want. So to be different, I will create a counter, okay, which will be equal to 0. And then we are going to increment the counter exactly. And here we can concatenate that. So we can create a folder called folder and concatenate with value with the str val of our counter. Okay, and we are good, right? So the first bucket will have a folder called folder 0. Let's give a dash. And second bucket will have a folder called folder 1. And that's it. Let's see if our script works. Creating a new folder, Okay. It seems it doesn't have any errors. Let's go to our AWS and let's see if we have the folders inside the buckets. Yes, it is. Oh, folder counter. So we made a mistake. Folder counter. So we forgot. Yeah, it's not at, it's $sign. Let's see if it creates now a folder like we want it to. Okay. So that should be here a folder -1, okay. And in the other one, it's folder -0. It is. So now, that's basically it. So I just don't recommend using the credentials like this. Otherwise, you are good to go. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and it was really simple. You just need to install those dependencies, AWS dependencies, and you're good to go. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.